Well, hello and welcome to a very special edition of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. I'm your weekly host, Chris Green, the Director of Network Growth for Avoya Travel. And wow, hard to believe, but here we are, the last Thursday in the first quarter of 2021. Wow, that seemed to go fast. And so many exciting things to talk about and discuss today in On Deck with Avoya, including an update on the cruise vendors that are returning to the oceans, where and when and who gets to sail. We'll tackle some of that here in just a few minutes in our Eye on the Industry feature. We're also very honored to have a member of the Avoya Travel senior leadership team joining us here for our Meet the Team feature. And we can't wait to introduce you to Ashley Hunter, our Senior Vice President for Partnerships. And we'll have that Meet the Team feature here in just a few minutes as well. We'll discuss promotions because we've got a couple of different ways for you to be able to join the Avoya Travel Network and either save some money on the front end or have your renewal fee waived on the back end. And we'll discuss those here in just a bit as well. And as always, our end goal is to connect with you, the travel professional, and see if we can't engage in a professional back and forth and explain Avoya Travel's award-winning elite resources to you. All of those resources offered exclusively to the members of the Avoya Travel Network. Maybe we can answer some questions, set up a demonstration of our elite technology, and see if we can't just put together the beginning stages of a shared success relationship with you and your agency. So let's get started. We've got a lot of ground to cover today on Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. So let's get started with our Eye on the Industry feature. So despite heavy pressure from some of the travel industry advocates like CLIA and ASTA, the CDC is holding firm to its November 1st date for lifting the conditional sale order issued in October of last year. In a statement released by the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, yesterday, it said on October 30th, 2020, the CDC issued framework for a conditional sailing order, a CSO, and that remains in effect until November 1st, 2021. The statement went on to say, returning to passenger cruising is a phased approach to mitigate the risk of spreading COVID-19. Details for the next phase of the CSO are currently under interagency review. Now, meanwhile, CLIA, among other organizations, argued that the CDC should be lifted and the conditional sale order should go bye-bye and that cruising should be allowed to return from U.S. ports by the beginning of July. Kelly Craighead, the CLIA CEO, is quoted as saying the outdated CSO, which was issued 5 months ago, does not reflect the industry's proven advancements and success operating in other parts of the world, nor the advent of vaccines, and unfairly treats cruises differently. Cruise lines should be treated the same as other travel, tourism, hospitality, and entertainment sectors. Now, all of this confusion caused by the lack of information from the CDC is kind of forcing the hands of the cruise lines as they try to get back in action sooner rather than later. So let's run down some of the big players and new moves that were announced this week because a lot of things are happening. So we'll start with our friends at Royal Caribbean International and the latest from that brand. Adventure of the Seas is going to be home porting in Nassau, Bahamas. News came out last week. Sailings start June 12th. The bookings are live. And let me tell you, the Avoya Travel Network is already reporting significant interest from clients. Empress of the Seas, big news this week. Royal Caribbean is going to have 2 in the Caribbean, as this is going to sail from Bermuda starting June 26th, and that'll open up for bookings starting later on this month in a couple of days on the 29th of March. And brand new news just today out has the Jewel of the Seas sailing from Cyprus to Greece starting on July 9th. Those bookings will open up early next month. And all of these announced sailings will require adult guests and all crew to be vaccinated. And those under the age for a mandatory vaccine will still need to have a negative COVID test prior to sailing. Moving over to sister brand Celebrity Cruises, the Celebrity Millennium is going to sail from St. Martin starting June 5th. Again, bookings are live. And again, members of the Avoya Travel Network are seeing strong interest from clients. And how about this? Just fantastic news. Celebrity Apex, the second of the Edge class ships, making its long-awaited debut sailing out of Athens, Greece, with a series of 7-night sailings that are scheduled to visit 3 Greek islands, Cyprus, and Israel. The first sailing is scheduled for June 19th. They're going to open that up on March 30th for the bookings to go live. And these cruises will be open to international travelers, including Americans, as Greece has already announced it's reopening for international travel in May of this year. Staying in Europe, AMA Waterways remains hopeful that it can begin sailing German rivers again as early as May of this year, although they still await final approval from the German government. And in other news from AMA Waterways, this is just amazing if you think about it. They're reporting very strong sales for river cruises in 2022 and beyond, with bookings up over 60% when you compare that, no, not to 2020, but to 2019, up 60% when compared to 2019. And finally, closer to home, the American Queen Steamboat Company was finally able to christen its newest ship to sail the Mississippi River, the American Countess. They had to do some last-second negotiations with the CDC, but they made it happen, and the christening took place earlier this week in New Orleans. It's currently on its maiden voyage with VIP guests, and the first revenue sailing is scheduled to begin this weekend, actually, on the 28th of March. And when you take all of this into account, you might remember that last week we discussed a new press release from Avoya Travel about our new Vacations to Take Now campaign. That's just being rolled out. And with these new additional opportunities for sales and commissions, boy, there has never been a better time to reach out and start the process to join the Avoya Travel Network than now. My team is more than happy to assist and answer any questions that you might have, and we'll have my contact information coming up here in just a little bit. As we move forward with this week's edition of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update, it's time once again for my favorite segment of the program, our Meet the Team feature. And as today is the final Thursday of the first quarter, we're just honored to have a member of Avoya Travel senior leadership team joining us. Ashley Hunter is our Senior Vice President in charge of partnerships. And partnerships and relationships are always on the list of questions that people have when they're considering a move to a new host agency. So we're very excited to wrap up quarter number one with Ashley as our special guest. So Ashley Hunter, welcome to On Deck with Avoya, and we appreciate your time very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm so excited to be here.
Ashley, I've got so many questions that I want to talk about our current situation, but before we do that, maybe we can take a stroll down memory lane really quick, right? Okay. And tell me how you first got into the travel industry, and what about travel drew you to our industry? And did you get a chance when you were a child to take a lot of really cool trips?
I did. I really have to give credit to my great-grandfather, who lived until he was 102. His big philosophy was the two things that you need to invest in life is travel and have those experiences, and real estate, because it's always a great investment. So very smart man. And he was just very big on traveling and exploring the world and having those memories. And so growing up, my parents were very big on that with my sister and I, and also introducing us to all sorts of vacations. So I cruised, my first cruise was on the Big Red Boat when we went to there in Disney World. So it was kind of before Disney Cruise Line was around. So that was my first cruise experience, but we would go to Hawaii, or we would go see national parks, and they wanted to make sure that we could stay in a 4-star hotel as well as sleep on the ground in a camping tent, and both of those are vacations. They're just different. So it was always a part of my life. And how I got into the industry, so went to college, and in college, I backpacked through Europe at 19 for 32 days with one of my best friends.
Wow.
And we loved it so much, we did a second trip in our early 20s, right before I started Avoya. I was in between jobs, and so I jumped back over to do that for a few weeks. And it was truly my passion. My senior project in college was actually on tourism and how to bring tourism into the city of where I went to school, which is San Luis Obispo in California. Yeah, Chris and I found out that his wife also grew up there, so we were having some good chats about that. But after school, I really went on this independence kick, wanted to find my first apartment on my own, my first job. I wasn't ready to move home to San Diego. So I found myself up in the Bay Area working for high tech and finance companies. And it was not my passion. It didn't light me up inside. I wasn't passionate about, writing about it. And I am one of those people that I need to be invested in what it is that I am working on in order to be truly happy and find joy in my work. So moved down to San Diego and was trying to figure out, okay, well, what am I passionate about? What can I find a job in? and ended up finding a job ad on Craigslist for Anderson Travel, because that's who they were at the time, and transitioning into America's Vacation Center. And they were looking for a public relations specialist, which is actually what I studied in college. And kind of the rest is history from there. So fell in love with the Andersons, their organization, from my first interview. And within, I think, a week, I started there and have never looked back. And it's been 14 years and just amazing to see the growth of the company, the changes in the industry since then. And even though this last year has been really hard for so many different reasons, I wouldn't want to be in any other industry.
Yeah, you kind of alluded into my next question, Ashley, which is when you look at your 14-year tenure in the travel industry, and I guess all of us would agree, we don't agree on a lot of points in 2021, everybody, but I think the one thing we could all agree on in this industry is that change is constant. What are some of the big changes that you've seen in the 14 years that you've been a member of the travel industry?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. I mean, and I've been on it since before really host agencies were just starting to become a thing when I started. And so they were migrating the Andersons from Anderson Travel into America's Vacation Center. And that was a big part of my role, was to advocate and do things to get people to understand what our model was for host, and to go to trade shows and things. So that was really becoming a market at the time. I mean, I started when Vicky Freed, who was known for being, Royal Caribbean, when she was over at Carnival. And so I've seen so many of these different things. I've seen cruise lines launch, Azamara. I was at the press conference when Viking announced that they were going to do ocean cruise ships, so there's been so many exciting things that I've been able to see, and shifts in the industry, whether it's been, people moving companies, models changing, how people are working together to make money. I mean, because essentially that's what we're all trying to do, is get people to go and travel, but also making sure that, we're earning dollars on that. And just the technology too has been rapidly changing. A lot of the different internal systems that we use with suppliers, how we've migrated and changed up our model feature set. And so to look at what we were offering 14 years ago to independent affiliates or independent agencies coming in, to what we are, offering now, it's mind-boggling. When I started, there was maybe 20 people on the support staff side. We all had to, I don't even know if you know this, we all had to do training on the phone system and calls, because if we got overloaded with calls at the time, we all had to be prepared to answer them as a call center. And so I had to do a 2-week training on that, and had to learn how to park calls and stuff to get them out to agencies as quickly as possible. And it's just, I explain this to some of my staff now, and I'm like, what? But that's how it was at that point in time. So it's just really, really cool to see the change. And I think from an independent agency side, maybe we had 250 to 300 that were affiliated with us at that time, and now we're over 1,000. And a lot of the IAs and I talk about how we've grown up in Avoya together too, because some of them affiliated right around when I started.
Tell me a little bit about, Ashley, about your current day-to-day role, and what you and some of the teams that you oversee do in order to make a difference and help our network remain successful.
Perfect. So my title is SVP of Partnerships, because my title can't be SVP of wearer of many hats. But essentially, my team oversees all of our relationships with all of the supplier partners that we sell. So all of the cruise lines, the escorted tour operators, wholesalers, the all-inclusive resorts, also, air, car, hotel, all of that jazz. We oversee those relationships and are making sure that we are developing that relationship with the independent agencies, and kind of being an advocate, if you will, for what the network needs, as well as what our suppliers need, and help to try to create strategies and programs for that, while also serving as kind of the middle conduit with all of our internal departments, like marketing and groups and others, on what partners we should be highlighting at different times with our marketing. So we kind of come up with a lot of that. Like if you ever see some of our email campaigns, Chris, like of our top 10s and things, those are strategically picked based off of our relationships, marketing dollars that we have, and also promotions. So I also have the promotion side of my team, and we are in charge of negotiating all of the exclusive offers that Avoya has. We have a lot of those running at any given time. Our relationship with American Express, and making sure that all of those promotions are loaded, because as an Amex affiliate, we're able to offer a lot of unique things to clients that they can't get everywhere. And then our team takes it one step further. You'll find that a lot of, and I know Brandon was on recently, so I think that he kind of talked about this, but I think a lot of other agencies out there will just take what the supplier sent, which is a flyer that gives some information on the promo, and make sure that that flyer is available. We take it a step further to go through the homework and the math on what is combinable, what is the value of this ad, so that when you're searching for something in our system, you can search for, well, my customer wants the cheapest price, my customer wants the cheapest value. And we've created technological systems for that to work in our own systems, which just, it's been so helpful for the network. It automatically goes out in their quotes, and they just love it. I also oversee our events team. So our conferences that we have every year, we have a virtual LAN forum coming up here really soon. And I also oversee our public relations team. So any of the releases and news that I know you guys highlight about Avoya, we do the communication on that side as well. So it's a job of many hats, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I like the variety, and I like the constant change in that. And I have just amazing leaders, Brandon and Mickey, and I know you guys are going to be introduced to Ashley and Drew here coming up, and I couldn't be more blessed to have them on the team.
And as the person who does the demonstrations for our potential affiliates, that smart value system is just, yeah, I mean, it really does. I mean, that's the one part of the demonstration that always blows people away. And again, if you're interested, please reach out. My team will set that up, and we can show you a little bit about what Ashley was talking about. We're chatting with Ashley Hunter, Avoya Travel Senior Vice President of Partnerships. And let me ask the question in the most simplest of terms. Why do partnerships and relationships that a host agency have matter?
Well, the reason that they matter, I mean, first and foremost is we're negotiating a higher commission level. I mean, that is the easiest one versus doing it on your own versus going with a host. So we are always negotiating the highest level commission as a network. And the more that we grow, oftentimes the commission levels are based off of your gross sales. So that's why that is so important. Two is that we have elevated levels of support. So you mentioned, and I've talked to IAs about this before, if I were Ashley Hunter with, Ashley's cruises and vacations versus I'm Ashley Hunter, an affiliate of Avoya, sometimes different doors open for them and things get escalated. We have teams that are advocates for you guys with suppliers internally, and that is also really helpful. Whether it's you have a question, there's an issue or a concern, we are a key partner, a strategic partner with a lot of our different accounts. So we have access to these people and systems in order to get things expedited. So you're not just calling into the regular call center to ask a question. Also, because of these relationships that we have, we're able to negotiate marketing programs. I mean, 2020, not that many people were marketing, let's be honest, but we're having those conversations, and we get dollars for that our marketing team goes out and provides leads that come in and resources for you to reach out to your clients that are honestly free to our affiliates, to the independent agencies in the network, that otherwise they would have to go and negotiate those on their own. And we're really known for that. And the more that we produce and the ROI that we prove on our marketing, we are pretty much, I'm told often by our suppliers, one of the #1 clients that they call the second that they find some money. So as things have started to pick back up, people have been on the call and they said, okay, Ashley, we have X amount of dollars. What can you guys do? And then the marketing team puts it all together, and the independent agencies get to reap the benefits of having those customers potentially come in for them. So I think that that's really important from that standpoint. As we're going through the COVID timeframe, our job shifted a lot with partnerships, and they really became, all of the people on my team became a communication conduit with the suppliers. I mean, there was so much rapid information, Chris, if you remember when this like first happened, of what is the policy here and the refund versus the FCCs or FTCs, and how do you make all of that work? And we realized it was a mess and we needed to consolidate. And so I shifted my entire team over. We did the legwork. We got all of the information. We streamlined the communication. We sent it out to the independent agencies, linked them back in. And that's part of our job, is to make things as easy as possible for the independent agencies, in order so that they can focus on servicing that client and selling that client, and not having to weed through and find all this information. So that was a big shift that we had, but we were happy to do it. And I mean, our survey scores internally for the support Avoya provides were top notch during that time. And, so that just meant so much to all of us, that we were doing the right thing, and that those that were with us really appreciated that increased level of support during what was, the hardest time in my career here.
For sure. I think the hardest time for any of us that have been in the travel industry for any length of time. And it seems like in the beginning, one of the things I've been asking all my guests is how they had to pivot, due to COVID-19. But it really seems like we're at that point where we're pivoting again, right? I mean, the information is shifting, and maybe it's kind of coming back full circle. And do you see, what are you and your team doing to like pivot and just be ready for this moment right now?
Yep. Well, I definitely train my staff the first day that they start. Well, actually, during the interview process, I tell them a couple of things. One is, don't ever get married to where you sit or what you do, because it will change. And two is, no day is ever the same. And those are the two guarantees that I can give them in this industry and with Avoya. And so I think we're used to the pivot. So we're prepared and ready. And so great example is right now, 2022 and 2023 is booking phenomenally well. People are ready to go. They have future travel credits that they need to use because they expire. And because of this demand for people that are rebooking and new people that are choosing to book, it literally will be a race to space for so many different suppliers that we've been talking to. And so with that, we created our own systems internally to let an independent agency know, here are the FCCs that we still see that are pending for you. Here is some amazing offers that we have, whether exclusive or that the vendor has. And here's also a link to some marketing resource assets for you to be able to send off an email to your client. I mean, I don't think there's any other way, Chris, that we could put that on a silver platter and say, here you go, just feel free to reach out to your clients. And they're so grateful because they don't have to go through and comb through that. We have AI basically doing that for them. So that's an area that we've pivoted in to make sure that we're capitalizing on the rebooking of those. And we're being told by a lot of suppliers that we are one of the number ones that are converting those into future sales and not just letting them hang out and expire. And two, so if people are booking into 2022, 2023, people still want to get out of their houses now. They want to do something. And so that's really where we've been working on this new Vacations to Take Now campaign, where we are highlighting certain destinations, certain products that you can take a vacation to now. And it was really exciting to get, talking about pivoting, to get the news from Royal and Celebrity last week, because we swapped some things around in order to include those, because now those are vacations you can take now, as in between now and April to September is kind of the time frame that we were thinking about for 2021. So we're creating marketing there. We're creating some opportunities. We got exclusive offers so that we have something that nobody else has during this time period. And we're going to be having a webinar with our network on that next week to kind of give them the preview of all of these offers. And we think it's going to be so successful that we're already talking to partners for round 2 of this, which will be in May.
I mean, if there's vacations that you can take now, that means that there's vacations that travel advisors can be paid for now.
Money!
And I mean, I think that direct correlation is just so important to highlight. Ashley, given all your contacts in the travel industry, I know you're in a lot of meetings with suppliers. You sit on some advisory boards. Tell me your personal feelings about a full recovery in our industry, the timing that surrounds that, and how you see Avoya Travel positioned in that recovery timeframe.
Perfect. Well, if you'd asked me this at the end of last year or the beginning of this year, I'll be honest, I would have thought that we would have been further along when it comes to the cruising side of things and in Europe potentially opening. I feel like we are very much at the best analogy I can give off the top of my head is like a horse race, where we're just that horse behind the gate that's just ready to go. And once that gate opens, it is going to be a go. And we're seeing it with the bookings and that we're already getting because Royal opened up yesterday for some of their sailings. Celebrity opens today. So we're excited about that. So I think where people are allowed to go, and as the vaccine rollouts continue to increase throughout the country, people are traveling and they will continue to. So I feel like we are finally at this, the clouds have parted, there's no more rainstorms, and we're seeing that light. It's not quite, we're basking in the sun yet, but we will be for these departures that are going to be happening during the summer. So I think there's going to be a huge lift in the summer. Obviously, we can't control governments and we have to have destinations that people will allow us to come to. So that's been exciting to see some of the news on Greece and with these Caribbean islands. To be honest, I don't know when it comes to the CDC with home port cruising. That still seems to be an area where the CDC seems to be more focused on other arenas, and it just doesn't seem like cruising is a high priority for them for home porting. And so the cruise line said, okay, we're not going around anything that you want from us, but we can't keep stopping. And some of these destinations are ready to have us. So we're going to go trial over here and, completely support them in that. I hope that the CDC ends up allowing home port cruising because I think it's detrimental to so many different economies. I mean, look at Alaska as an example, but we're also working with a lot of partners to still promote Alaska. How can you get in there through an escorted tour, vacation package, something like that. And there are a couple of cruise lines like American Queen and stuff that are still operating because they're small enough. So from a full recovery, it's kind of hard to say because there's a couple of different ways that you can look at it. I feel like people will be fully traveling in more of the frequency and in the volume that we're used to in 2022. I feel like people will really start to pick up and do at least some type of a vacation this year, whether it's smaller, closer to home, and really be back at maybe 2019 levels by hopefully late 2022, or having a traditional departure season in 2023. I think wave season will be pretty similar in 2022 that we're used to.
And I mean, if we're booking that far in the future, you still have to build the pipeline.
Right.
And if the pipeline is being filled now is the time you want to reach out to us and start the process, because you want to be part of having that pipeline refilled is my personal belief on that.
Definitely. And, quite honestly, we were doing that with the our current network leading into this Vacations to Take Now campaign, because there's so many people that may be fully focused on cruising or river cruising, and they had all their eggs in that basket. Well, river cruising's not open yet. So now what do you do? And so they're trying to learn some other pieces of the business. And so we've been doing a lot of webinars on education of these products, whether it be an all-inclusive or some of the wholesalers and how to book things, so that we had all of these education pieces leading up, so that once this marketing campaign goes through, the network is ready and they are ready to accept those leads, send things out to their customers, and feel really confident in how to book them, understanding the differences between the different types, because it is very similar to cruising. Of there's multiple different organizations or umbrellas to organizations that own these different resorts, and how do you convert, like, what is this type of client cruise? What would be the appropriate destination and place to put them on the hotel and land side? So there's been a lot that we've been doing on that over the last couple of months.
Absolutely. Ashley Hunter is our special Meet the Team guest this week. Ashley is our Senior Vice President of Partnerships at Avoya Travel. And Ashley, as we spend a few minutes chatting about you personally, not the Senior VP at Avoya Travel, but just Ashley Hunter, what are some of the things that you like to do to decompress from work and maybe do for fun?
Well, I will say that travel would be the first thing that I would tell you. And so that's been a little bit of a challenge. Honestly, on my first date with my husband, we talked about that. And I said, when I have free time or, when I save up money, it's to travel. He was also a backpacker through college. And so we definitely connect on that. So I will say we have a trip planned to Hawaii the day school gets out. I have two daughters, one in first grade and one in preschool, but he is also a high school teacher. So this year's been really fun for him on online teaching and everything. And so we are getting out of Dodge and going to Maui. But for what I like to do personally, I am an avid reader. I read probably a couple books a month. And it's how I fall asleep every night. And it's just a part of how I think my brain works. I need to read in order to be able to sleep. And I'm also very much getting into painting. I've been taking some oil painting lessons with my grandmother during this time. She's a phenomenal painter. And so it's been really fun to spend that time with her, which is one of those silver linings of COVID.
I only paint if there's wine involved. I love that whole wine and paint concept, though. You know
Yep.
what I mean? That sounds like a lot of fun. Every week here on Deck with Avoya, it always seems that one of our central themes surrounds family, probably because Avoya Travel is a family-owned and family-operated business. Part of that is because my great coworkers really seem like a family more than just a colleague. You have this really amazing family tradition that you guys have been doing for a long time. Tell me about your family tradition on Fridays. I just love the concept of this.
So we have a thing in my family called Friday night dinners. And it has existed since before I was born. We are very blessed in the fact that my entire immediate family pretty much lives in San Diego. My great grandfather moved out here in the 40s. And so they used to get together, my grandparents, my mom, her brother, and her sister every Friday night once they had graduated college, come home as just a weekly get to catch up on everybody's week. They all owned some family businesses together to catch up on that. And it was just this dedicated time. It's 5:30 Friday nights, and they would rotate through a couple of different restaurants. So there would be a Mexican restaurant one week and a pizza restaurant the next week, Japanese, etc. And so growing up, funny story, but my mom and her sister married my dad and his adoptive brother. So two sisters married two brothers. My family had two girls. They had two boys. We lived within 10 minutes of each other growing up. And so once they started having kids, we would all get together. And so it would be 10 of us that would get together every Friday night for dinner. I mean, and this has lasted my entire life. And now my daughters are part of this too. Some of my family members, have moved away, my cousins, but they always try to come home on a Wednesday or Thursday so they can make it for a Friday night dinner. And my girls just absolutely love it. It's dedicated time with their family and just to connect. And during COVID, once we felt comfortable right around Mother's Day to actually start seeing our family and creating our own little COVID bubble, it was our Friday night dinner bubble. And where we changed it up during COVID, and we're not sure if we're ever going to go back, Chris, because now we meet at 4:00 and we do cocktails and tiles, which is my family likes to play games. And so we play Rummy Cube or Rummy Tiles. And so we play rounds of that. My kids are, running around playing, telling jokes and getting to see their family. And then we do dinner there. And it's extended time. And so, yep, every Friday I get to see my aunt and my uncle, my parents, my grandparents. And it's a beautiful tradition that not many people get to spend that much time, or quite frankly, some of the people don't want to, and that's totally fine. We just really genuinely enjoy each other.
It sounds like an amazing tradition, and as a person who hasn't had the benefit of living in the same town as his extended family, it really kind of struck me as a really cool thing that you guys do. So I think that's pretty neat. I know you're going to Maui. You said soon as school's out.
Mm-hmm.
What about future bucket list trips? Anything on that list that you just can't wait to knock off?
Yeah, I mean, It's more, there's really nothing that isn't on my list, Chris. So it's, if I get an opportunity to go somewhere, I'm going. My husband and I celebrated our 10-year anniversary last year. And so that was during COVID. We at least got away kind of for the weekend. At a local, hotel at the beach, but we really want to do a bigger trip. So he and I are currently in negotiations with each other because he really wants to go to Costa Rica, do something more tropical. I feel like we've done that. I've done a lot of tropical, not Costa Rica. I want to go big and like go to Egypt and do a Egypt tour and Nile River cruise or an African safari or something like that. So I want to go a little bit more exotic. He wants to be a little bit more tropical. So we'll see where we end up.
Ashley, before we let you go today, is there any advice that you would offer an independent travel agency just trying to figure out how to survive and then thrive in this crazy moment in time?
I think that it's really important to keep your eyes open to potential pivot opportunities. I think that those that have really done well during this time have realized that in order to continue to service their clients and make money, they maybe needed to learn some new things. And hopefully that's been helpful for their business, but then also has opened up a new opportunity for future revenue for them as well. I would also say that engagement with your host or your coworkers and colleagues is so important. There's so much information that we share, that we put together. I'm sure you kind of tout, Chris, like our weekly calls, our mastermind program, like there is so much opportunity for you guys to feel like a part of this family, to get the information that you need, to not have to be searching through the weeds trying to figure out how to start this or where to get involved. But you do need to raise your hand and engage and put your foot in that door and say, hi, I'm so and so, and I have some questions on this, because we would much rather answer the question, take the time to do that, and then you be able to move forward than have you spend useless amounts of times trying to figure it out yourself, so that would be just a really big part, is ask the questions, get involved, be engaged, and be open to new things.
Ashley, I'm so thrilled that you make time for us today to be our special guest as we wrap up quarter number 1 of 2021. And at least we get to wrap up the first quarter, with some good news and some really positive things for the future. So again, thank you so much for your time and for being our special guest on our Meet the Team feature today.
Thank you so much for having me, and hello to just everybody out there, current independent agencies, and hopefully some new ones as well. I would love to meet you and get to see you at a future live event or in person. So hope everybody has a wonderful day, and thank you again, Chris and team, for inviting me to join.
Ashley Hunter, everyone, our Senior Vice President for Partnerships, and what a fantastic conversation that was. Next week on our Meet the Team feature, we're going to spotlight Skip Fortier, longtime industry professional and Avoya Travel's Vice President of Network Expansion. Among other things, we're going to discuss Skip's involvement with ASTA and their upcoming legislative day and some of the initiatives surrounding that. With everything going on with the CDC and ASTA's push to have the voices heard of the travel agent community, should be a fantastic conversation. All right, so let's talk promotions. Let's talk about how you can be a member of the Avoya Travel Network. Again, we still have our waived promotion going on where we're going to waive that initial fee to join the network. This is geared again towards a high-end travel professional, somebody that probably in 2019 did like $500,000 in gross sales or above, would have future cruise credits, future travel credits, bookings that have been made here this year as things are starting to open up again. For you, we would love to have that conversation, and my team will get you qualified. We can waive that initial $495 fee. For those of you still trying to achieve that level, still trying to get to that kind of threshold, we have a fantastic promotion. If you're qualified to join the network, you pay the normal affiliation fee to join, but your first 6-month renewal fee is waived as long as both partners want to continue the relationship. And of course, I remind those that might be on our call today that are current members of the Avoya Travel Network, make sure you get those referrals turned in. There's money on that for you guys as well. We love referrals from our network. They know great travel professionals. So lots of ways for this promotion to find you. And you can explore with complete flexibility because there are no long-term contract or exclusive agreement. And again, contact us for eligibility and offer details. Don't delay your success. That pipeline is being filled. So how do you reach out to us? Well, pretty simple. My contact information is chris.green@avoyatravel.com. That is my email address. There's the phone number on the screen. You can always reach out to us through the avoyanetwork.com website. On Facebook, you can leave us a message. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, you can leave us a comment there. We'll certainly make time to reach out and answer those questions. And again, see if we can't put together the beginning stages of a shared success relationship. I'm telling you, I've been in meetings this year and I've heard it from vendor after vendor, some of them publicly, some of them privately, but they're telling us that Avoya Travel Network's business model is the one that they think is going to thrive the most in this new normal. So reach out today. My team would be more than happy to have that conversation. Again, a big thank you to Ashley Hunter for being our special Meet the Team feature guest today. We can't wait to have Skip Fortier on next week. Big thanks as always to Marissa Smith, who does a wonderful job of producing our segment behind the scenes. I hope everybody has a wonderful week, that the news just keeps getting better and better and better. And we can't wait to share more with you next week with On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. Have a great week, everyone.